that's a key issue, isn't it? That they're on their back when you put them to sleep.
Yeah,
and
it's
easy to remember, back to sleep.
Back
I
to
think.
sleep. It's
Yeah.
very important that the baby is on their back. They do now sell like the styrofoam triangles that you can kind of wedge the baby in, and they say that you can put the baby on their side, but it actually is recommended on their back. You don't want any blankets or stuffed animals or anything that can come in front of the baby's face to be in the crib.
Yep.
You don't want to raise the temperature of your house, the room temperature, just because you have a newborn.
You don't want to.
No. You want to dress the baby as you are dressed, as you are comfortable. You want to keep the temperature where you normally would set it. The baby has to learn that, okay, this is going to be the new temperature that I'm going to have to adjust to. If mom and dad have extra clothing on, an extra sweater, then that's what goes on the baby. But you don't want to raise, because you can make it too hot for the baby. You can overdress a baby and make them too warm, okay? If you ever have a question about the temperature, take the baby's temperature, okay? That's how you're going to know if how you're doing. And people get freaked out by taking their baby's temperature. They, you know, oh, I don't want it. It's very easy in a newborn, very easy to take their temperature. And we usually teach rectal temperature taking. Is if you put the baby on their belly, and you're doing that because you're right there. You're not going to leave the baby. You're going to be able to watch their breathing the whole time. Their little butt is right up in the air. It's very easy to pass a thermometer. I usually like to lubricate it a little bit, and it depends on what kind of thermometer you have, whether it's the digital, whether it's going to flash, or so you have to read the directions on your thermometer, but how long to keep it in. Take the baby's temperature, and then there's certain guidelines that, you know, when to call the doctor if the baby does have an elevated temperature, or if the baby's too, you know, a little bit lower than normal. So in Fahrenheit, you want the baby's temperature to be 98.6. And we usually recommend to call the doctor if it's over 100.4. And in centigrade, there's 37. Is usually in this country it's in Fahrenheit, but in the hospital, the nurses are always using centigrade, so it kind of gets confusing. But 37 is perfect. Yep. And we don't want it to go above 38 in centigrade.
Okay. Okay. And again, just to let the viewing audience know that if they have a question really on any of these issues, you can call 292-BABY, select option 2, 17 hours almost every day, and talk live with a nurse, a pediatric nurse, and who would love to talk to you about your baby. And so they can help, because I think for a lot of people, centigrade and Fahrenheit, that can be confusing, which, and if you get the numbers mixed up, it's a very different read.
Exactly,
so,
exactly. So Jim, getting back to sleep,
yes.
Sometimes parents ask me, you know, well, what if my baby gets some mucus and they're on their back? Are they going to choke? And babies they've done studies, they're very well capable of dealing with that mucus. And if they're on their back, it would be very rare for the baby to have a problem with that. So it's kind of, it's a little bit unnerving to say, okay, I'm going to put my baby on the back, but it is proven to be the safest positioning for the baby.
Yeah, yeah. I can see where that would, where you would think that it would, or think that it could have a problem with that.
Right.
So,
especially if you've been in the nursery or in the newborn and seen them do that choking. But usually that little where they're kind of looking like they're gagging and choking, that's usually for the first 24 to 48 hours, and it doesn't. You know, after they go home from the hospital, the baby's usually done with all that.